this is all about WaterAid. And
Yes.
what I really wanted to ask you, because this is something that I struggle with. I see the images on TV. I see the campaigns on TV. It is hard to understand what it is really like. And you have been there. So what have you,
Yeah.
what is it really like?
Well, the difference between communities that have access to clean water and the communities that don't is extraordinarily huge. It's just such a massive difference. You know, when you have access to clean water, everything in the community's life changes. You know, their health increases. Becomes much better. The structure of the society changes as well, because the women are not having to travel for miles and miles and miles to get some water for their houses and their communities, which is quite often not clean anyway. So these children are getting very sick. They don't have access to great healthcare as well in a lot of these communities. The toilet facilities. So everything that we take for granted in our sort of country, especially in the UK anyway, is just so markedly different. And it's like the way I can sort of remember it, and the way I tell the stories, it's kind of like watching, black and white television, and then suddenly you get a color TV and everything's different. You can see everything, the colors change, and the whole demeanor of the community changes. This what seems so little and so simple and so basic, water, clean water, transforms everything in the communities. And so it's really, it's a basic need that everybody should have in the world. And that's why, charities like WaterAid exist, so that we can improve these communities, and we can, draw attention to the fact to the world, and which is why we have to have these campaigns, because the difference is massive. After these campaigns that the WaterAid conduct, the difference in the communities afterwards is huge. So, I got involved quite a few years ago with WaterAid, and it was a very humbling experience going to Mozambique, which is a developing country, and it was just an honor to meet these people, these people who have, compared to a lot of the Western countries, have very little in life. But what they do have is they have a great humanity and a desire to feed their children, and a desire to build a community that is life fulfilling, and that serves other people as well. And so for me, it's incredibly important to be involved in these campaigns.
The thing that shocks me is that this is no surprise to any of us. I remember Blue Peter appeals for water facilities for countries. We can go back further than kind of like Band-Aid about water and access to it. And decades on, we're still trying to raise money to help people have access to clean water. And it's something that I had just naively presumed we've got over that by now. So did it surprise you that there were still so many communities, large communities, without access to simple clean water?
Sadly, it didn't surprise me at all, because I know the way the world works, and I'm not going to get political about this, but you look at an example like Mozambique, Kwamba in particular, where I was, that district, and you see the incredible amount of work that the local community put into providing a sort of structure of care and of development for the people of Kwamba and Mozambique. And yet they're running up and they're trying to climb this mountain, and it's like, rolling that boulder up the hill, and it becomes incredibly disheartening, because unless you have a global structure in place, which all governments in the world sort of buy into and understand, then there's always going to be countries in developing countries like Mozambique and all over the world that just won't be able to provide the basic care for their children. And everybody needs a basic care package in the world. We're all born into this world, and so we have I think a right to expect these basic facilities. And unfortunately, the way that the world works just now, the structure of it, the economic structure, the political structure, it doesn't allow for that. So I think we have to. It's a very, very long discussion about how do we run the world and what structures. And everyone says, "Oh, what an incredibly caring world." But charities, are the last stop gap, really stopgap, in order to provide for these communities, we should be providing for them on a government level. We should be providing for it. We're a very, very rich world. There's a lot of very, very, very rich people in the world. And unfortunately, that trickle down theory doesn't quite work when it comes to countries like Mozambique. So that's a longer discussion. But in the meantime, these incredible charities like WaterAid are raising money for these communities that desperately need, an infrastructure in place that will save lives.
We're going to be talking later in our programme to Jersey Overseas Aid, who use money from the island here to try and help overseas and do things like work with WaterAid, with clean water. I was really shocked by some of the statistics, though, from Mozambique. Infections associated with unclean births account for 26% of newborn deaths. And as a mum, I just find that utterly heartbreaking that because there isn't any clean water, a quarter of newborn babies,
Yeah. I think the way that I always look at it, it's shocking and it's disgraceful, absolutely disgraceful. But we do the world a disservice by ignoring these communities because, these communities could provide us with the person who could cure cancer, who could provide us with one of the most extraordinary inventions ever. Who knows what these people from these communities could provide the world with, and yet we shoot ourselves in the foot because we're not allowing these people to fulfill their potential in life. And I think that everybody who's born into this world has a right to have a decent basic standard of living in the world. We have enough money, around. The world is rich enough in order to do that, and yet we still have these communities who suffer, and something like as basic as water, is clean water. So 800 children a day die from diseases caused by a lack of clean water and decent sanitation. That's every 2 minutes. Think about it. Every 2 minutes, child dies. Boom, like that, gone. No more. No life, no school, no future, no life to look forward to that we all take for granted because of a lack of clean water.
It's an awful way to think about it, but it's very stark.
Well, I think you have to be very clear and honest about it, and it's about that. It's the difference between life and death. If you value life, and I do, I value life. I think everybody has a right to a decent standard of living and at least to have a chance at life. If you value life, and I do, I think we have to really address this. And I think, these campaigns come up year after year after year, and thank God for all these charities like WaterAid who provide for these communities. But I think we need a much more global structure in place that will eradicate these terrible situations, these conditions in countries throughout the world.
A lot of this will come down to money, and the money that WaterAid will raise and be able to spend making a difference. How much does it cost to make a difference to a community and to give them clean water?
Well, I think that, any amount that people can give, makes a difference. Absolutely. I can't remember the exact statistic. I did have it the last time I was there, but I think that any amount of money that people can give will make a huge difference. So, when people want to find out more about WaterAid, they can go to WaterAid, WaterAid.org, and they'll be able to find out how to donate, how much, £100, £50, £20 makes, what difference that makes for these communities.
Yeah, I've got the bigger figure of wanting to raise 2.5 million.
2.5 million is a sort of baseline figure, and that would be great if we could get there. If we get more, that would be an incredible amount of money. But it makes such a huge difference when you do these campaigns. And I saw it firsthand. When I was there in Mozambique myself. So I would just urge people to give as much as they can, and and to know does make a difference. This charity is a wonderful charity, and you will help revolutionize these people's lives.
Very briefly, I can't have you on and not talk about some of your work. I just introduced my 11-year-old daughter to Mission Impossible. We've been watching all of them. Today, it was you. I couldn't believe it. I was like, this is just one of those coincidences. And you were such a bad baddie.
Bad baddie. Terrible man. Terrible man. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm glad that she liked it.
Was it a lot of fun? It looked like a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was fun. It was great fun. You know, it was a long amount of fun, a long time, but it was good. Yeah, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot.
It was a while back, and you've had such a breadth of an acting career, and you're in theatre at the moment. What do you have a preference? Do you have a favourite?
The older I've got, the more I'm determined to tell stories that mean something to me. You know, when I produced this Irvine Welsh drama with my producing partner Tony, and it was about this community in Edinburgh, and you know, very similar to where I was brought up, and it meant something to me. Irvine Welsh is probably my favourite writer, and his stories are very similar to, you know, where I was brought up. And so I was sort of wanted to start telling stories from my own country, really. So I have a company now in Scotland that produces drama specifically about Scotland. And the play obviously is not about Scotland. It's Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, but it's an extraordinary play. So I just kind of wanted to, you know, stretch myself as well as an actor and try and do as much exciting sort of drama work as I can in terms of theatre. I haven't done theatre for 18 years. So it's the first theatre I've done in that length of time, but I'm really loving it.
Does it feel scary getting back out on the stage in front of the audience?
Terrifying. Absolutely. No, it's not now. But when I took my first step on that stage in the first preview and there was a live audience there, I was like, I actually calmed down pretty quickly, but it's just the enormity of it. You know, it's entirely different from working on, you know, acting on a movie set or a TV set. It's just very, very different. I mean, essentially the acting, sort of the genesis of it comes from the same place, but the actuality of it, the manifestation of it, what it ends up being, you know, is very different.
It's good to be out of your comfort zone every now and then, though, isn't it?
Indeed. Yeah. Indeed it is.
Very briefly, Oscar nominations. Did you see them yesterday? Any thoughts?
Well, I'm very happy for all of them. They're all brilliant. I mean, God, Martin McDonagh is a genius, I think. I love him. And Colin and Brendan and Barry, I think, is brilliant. And also Bill Nighy, who I know, I just think he's so brilliant, Bill Nighy. I love him so much. Andrea Riseborough, phenomenal. She's sensational, Andrea Riseborough. I just love her. She's probably, I would say, maybe my favourite actress. One of my favourite actors.
Yeah, I think it's
a good one. I mean, I think that, you know, I haven't seen that film, but I saw a trailer for it. I saw a clip of it, and I just was like, I'm always blown away by her acting. But this in particular, I just love people who take risks. I love people who just commit to what they're doing. And it's sort of a great example for any actor watching someone like Andrea Riseborough, I think.
Dougray, it's been an absolute pleasure. I've got to go. My 15 minutes is up. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
You
Bye.
take care of yourself. Goodbye
Bye-bye.
now.